All right, guys, this is Crazy Kev here. I'm here with Sarah Shell. Sarah, how are we doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And Sarah, you've been competing on bare knuckle for a little bit now. I mean, you've had a fight not too long ago. I mean, talk to us a little bit more about your last fight that you just had and what's maybe next for you here with bare knuckle.
Yeah, you know what? Last fight was my third fight with bare knuckle. So I moved on to 3-0, undefeated with bare knuckle. Before that, I've had a lot of MMA fights. I think 18 MMA fights, lots of kickboxing and Muay Thai. So I'm not new to mixed martial arts in general. But yeah, I'm only 3 fights deep with bare knuckle. And yeah, I mean, my last fight went really well. I'm undefeated 3-0, and although I've had 2 decisions. I've never lost a round. So on all 3 judges' scorecards for my 2 decisions, it's 44-50 across the board because I've scored a knockdown for all of my opponents. So all 3, I got a TKO for my first win. Yeah, I've knocked down all my opponents, and I love bare knuckle. I should have been in boxing long ago, and I'm really happy to be with bare knuckle. It's definitely my comfort zone.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely glad you've been competing with bare knuckle as well. And no, it seems like you've been calling you've been calling out Britain Hart a lot recently. I mean, talk to us a little bit more about that matchup and why that one kind of excites you a lot.
Yeah, you know what? I've been the #1 contender for I think maybe 1 or 2 years. So I moved up the rankings really fast just from knocking down my opponents. It's just something that it doesn't happen in the strawweight division. A lot of the strawweight girls, aren't getting knockdowns, and so with those consistent knockdowns, I quickly moved up the rankings. And I don't want to fight back. I want to fight the best, and Britain Hart is the best. I mean, she's 5-time defending champion. And so she's always been on my radar. And yeah, yeah, it's something that I'm really excited for. We started a bit of drama. It was me that started, but I basically flew to Florida to give her a little shoulder bump, and we started a bit of an argument. But she's all fired up, and I know she's game, and she wants to get me back for that shoulder bump. But sometimes you got to make it known that I want that challenge, and yeah, I'm excited for Britain, and she's the best for a reason, and I want that challenge.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that would be an exciting fight and definitely a good challenge for you as well. And now, when it comes to that matchup, I mean, is there maybe any dates on maybe when you like to compete again? I mean, talk to us a bit more about when you're kind of hoping to get back in the ring.
Yeah, you know what? I've made it known that I'm ready whenever they set that date down. It sounds like they're looking for March. And so I'm already in fight camp. Ever since I shoulder checked her, I knew it was going to go down. So I'm just waiting for the date, and I'm already in fight camp. Which I stay in shape all year round, anyways. But obviously, fight camp gets a little bit more intense. There's no trainings that are missed, and the schedule gets very very tight, and it's very specific to training. So yeah, I've already been in fight camp, and I'm just ready for the date.
Yeah, and now when it comes to your training, I was listening to another interview, and you mentioned when you were training, you do a lot of when you do striking, like you only mainly go to the body and get the face shots until fight night. How long have you been doing that? And talk us a little bit more about that philosophy, how you kind of started doing that.
Absolutely. You know what? I've been doing that really ever since I became a doctor, probably. So maybe just a little bit more cautious about brain health. And protecting that. And you know what? I've been in fighting for so long, so I've done the hard sparring. I know I'm tough. I've done years of hard sparring, and not really thinking about my brain health. But now that I have a career and a brain to protect, I want to stay on top of that. And longevity of my career is very important to me. And so when I'm in training, I don't get hit to the head. I have sparring partners, and they aim for my body only. And a lot of my therapy and treatments that I do really revolve around my brain health. So I do a lot of really targeted vitamins and supplements for brain health. I do oxygen therapy. I do a lot of different therapies that are all focused on brain health. And the only time I truly get hit to the face is during a fight. So that's the only time I really sacrifice my brain.
Yeah, no, I really think that's an interesting training method, and I'm definitely glad you brought that up. And now, when it comes to this training method, I mean, I know everyone's style of training is a little bit different, but with you being a doctor, I mean, would you recommend this more for maybe MMA fighters or boxers or just other people in general as well?
Yeah, you know what? Of course, like training, I recommend mixed martial arts training to anyone, whether you're competing or not. Of course, when you get to the level of competition, if you're going to start competing, you need to be smarter. I recommend the training. I would never pull back training from someone. And I do think that, taking measures to protect our brain is important. So I don't believe in the hard sparring. I know a lot of old school gyms still support that. I see it all the time, at my gym. And I think it's important to protect our brain and to take those steps. But yeah, I mean, competing isn't for everyone, but there's just some of us out there that are just, it's meant for us, I would never take that away from someone. So if it's in your heart and you got that fire and you know that it's meant for you, then yeah, competition is what's going to feed that fire. I know for me, I need that. I need that competition. I live for the competition. And so it's not something that I can take away from myself. And so I think just being proactive and protecting our brain the best that we can.
Yeah, no, I definitely think your health is definitely important, no matter who the fighter is. And now another thing I was curious about as well too. I mean, obviously, you've been competing for a very long time with martial arts. I mean, how do you think martial arts has kind of evolved since you kind of got started in martial arts?
I mean, it's really evolved, especially for women. It's a lot bigger for women now. There's so many female competitors. Back in the day, I never had any female sparring partners or training partners, so it's really growing. And I mean, there's bare knuckle wasn't a thing back in the day. And so yeah, I mean, it's just expanding. There's so much more interest in it. There's a lot of people nowadays who really can fight. Back in the days, it was all just talk. Everyone talked about being a fighter, but nobody actually stepped up to do it. And so, I was one of those people back in the day. All of my friends were guys who talked like they could fight, but when it came down to it, I was the only one that, stepped up and, eventually moved out of Canada and made it a real passion of mine. But yeah, it's expanding. A lot more people are seeing that it's not just, for ego, it's really physical and the mental challenge that translates over into anything that you do in life. There's something about mixed martial arts that gives you a benefit in everything else that you do in life. So I know a lot of people join it for ego, but once you get in it, you realize that there's just a greater purpose behind it all. In you just become a better person all around. There's something about fighters that mentally and physically, once we translate that over into our jobs and our careers in life, that's what makes the world a better place. We need more professionals, who train in mixed martial arts in the background of their career as well too.
Yeah, and no, I definitely think that's a solid message as well. And now, like you mentioned, when it comes to stepping up to fight, I mean, for one of your first amateur fights, I mean, you were mentioning as well too that you overheard a manager, and then you didn't really have a lot of training, and then you just went straight into fighting. I mean, talk to us a little bit more about that experience and what that was kind of like for your very first fight as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it was awesome to just kind of get thrown in there. I know a lot of people, they, ask how do I get into it? And really you got to go to a gym and, get experience and get the coach to get you in. But I really didn't have to go through those hoops. I just overheard someone talking on the phone and he was upset. A woman pulled out of a fight and I just overheard and I come to question, and basically he just looked me up and down. He's like, oh, you look fit. Like, how much do you weigh? And 12 days later, I was fighting. And literally, I'm not someone who, I wasn't in fights when I was younger. I wasn't in any fights. I didn't train in any discipline. I just ran on the treadmill, and did my free weight circuit. I didn't really even know how to work out. I know how to work out now, but back in the day, I was just doing what I thought was good. And so, yeah, I just got thrown in there. I didn't even know how to kick until about 6 fights later when I moved to America. And joined a Muay Thai gym, and I went up to the coach. I'm like, can you teach me how everyone's doing that hip turn? And he's just like, what? Like, you don't know how to kick? And I'm like, I'm telling you, I'm serious. I've never been to a gym. And on paper, it looked like I should know it because I had 6 MMA fights, a couple of Muay Thai and kickboxing fights before I even moved to the States. But I really just got thrown in there and never ended up joining a gym. Until I moved to the States, that was when I was like, I'm going to take it serious. And so I just had a lot of raw talent, a lot of raw experience. So I really got to work on my mindset. I had to be my own cheerleader. No one really supported me or nobody really understood why I was doing it. It's like, you didn't train. Like, why are you just, going in there? They thought I was angry, which is understandable, but it was just something that lit a fire under my butt. It was just something that filled me with purpose and made me feel like a better person. So, that's ultimately why I continued it.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's awesome. And I'm definitely glad you were able to share that story as well. And now when it comes to your career, I mean, obviously, you've been competing for a very long time now. What are maybe some of your favorite memories that you might have had with the sport, whether it's with MMA, Muay Thai, boxing, or talk to us a little bit more about that?
Gosh, you know what? I'm really someone who is very even keel, so I don't get too excited over big accomplishments, and I don't get too let down over things that might be failures. So I wouldn't say it's ever any one thing. Even in my fights, when you see me win, I'm never the person who's jumping around and crying and excited. I'm kind of just a little smirk on my face, and I'm proud of myself. But I don't get too excited or anything. But I'm happy about the journey. I'm very happy about the journey and all the experiences all together. I'm constantly chasing challenges and trying to become a better person, and for me it's just the journey. There's no one thing, but I'm very proud of the person that I've become in mixed martial arts, and all my teammates and all the people that have been around me have really helped me become the person that I am, and I'm just constantly trying to be a better person.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's a good message. I'm definitely glad you're always striving to be better as well. And now another thing I want to ask you about as well too. I mean, there's another fighter in the UFC. Her name is Shay Ming. She's also a doctor, just like you, and she's also fights for the UFC. What do you kind of think about her? Have you heard of her? I mean, talk to us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, no, I haven't looked at her. As far as I know, she's a doctor, and so it's a little bit different. I'm a physician, and so I know she's got her doctorate, but I mean, any professional. I know there's lots of PhDs out there as well too. I think Britain Hart has a master's. So it's difficult to run a full-time career as it is. And certainly when you spend all that time in education, I would bet that she probably doesn't have people in her corner supporting her. It's hard for parents and family to understand why you would want to risk your brain after all that time in school. I think I even read that her parents didn't even know that she was fighting in the UFC or something like that. But
Yes.
I would imagine that most people with a higher level of education probably, are their own best cheerleaders. And I think that makes us the most dangerous as well, too, because, we've learned to become our own supporters. And when you're your own best cheerleader, there's nothing that can phase you. You're just unstoppable. And so I would bet that she's got a similar mindset.
Yeah, no, I definitely would agree. I definitely think she has a good mindset, and yeah, that's definitely funny with Shay Ming. Like I said, I definitely don't think her parents knew about that in the beginning as well. And now with you competing with Bare Knuckle, I mean, what are maybe some of your goals that you might have with martial arts, and how long do you maybe see yourself fighting for Bare Knuckle as well?
Yeah, you know what? I see myself fighting for as long as I can. I want to win that belt, and I want to continuously win it, and I want to have a good impact on the world. And so that's where I judge my success. I want to have a good impact on the world, and I believe I'm just getting started. And being a world champion is going to open up doors for me to help people. I want to start blending my career as a doctor, with martial arts. And one of my specialties that I focus on in clinic is chronic disease, and so that's something that I want to help people with. There's a lot of things with regards to chronic disease and why it's an epidemic that we're just not talking about. And that's something that I treat every single day in clinic. And so, yeah, to me, there's a greater purpose and a reason why I fight. Certainly it makes myself happy, but I also want to help other people too.
Yeah, and now, like you mentioned, there were some things that aren't really brought up too much. I mean, what exactly are those things that people aren't really talking about as much?
Yes, you know what the number one thing. So, I mean, one of the primary drivers of chronic disease is insulin spikes all day long. And so you hear about high cholesterol, you hear about high blood sugar, and there's the medication, even hypertension, and there's a medication for those. But all those things they don't come unless we have chronic insulin spikes all day long. And most people don't even have an insulin lab to test for. And ultimately, to control our insulin spikes that we get all throughout the day, it's fiber. Fiber is the primary, nutrient that we're missing a conversation on. And, I can't tell you how many people I have who come in on a statin or a blood sugar medication or a cholesterol medication, and they have no idea about fiber. And that's literally what pulls all that crap out. And we know we live in an environment that is full of foods that are fibers taken out of, right? Fibers taken out of our food environment. It's processed food and high sugar, salts, fat. And what we're doing is we're missing fiber. The driver is the insulin, but there's other things that control it. But chronic insulin spikes all throughout the day. Anything that you eat, carb, fat, or protein, anything that you eat, if it doesn't have fiber with it, it's going to absorb too fast and you're going to get an insulin spike. And if you get enough of those all day long, You can't sleep, you're depressed, you gain weight, you get cancer. The insulin is the driver of chronic disease. And that's not a secret. It's something that we know, but as doctors, we don't have the time to have those discussions. Not a lot of doctors, have the time to do that. If they're reimbursed by insurance, it's a difficult conversation to have. So we resort to just prescriptions. But people need to know that. People need to know about what's causing the chronic disease in the first place. And it's chronic insulin spikes, and fiber is the number one thing that we need to start talking to people about.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely glad you were able to shed some light on that a little bit. That's definitely pretty interesting as well too that you were able to talk about that. And now another thing I want to ask you about as well too. I mean, obviously, we've been talking a little bit about your fighting career, but what do you kind of like to do outside of the ring when you're not in there training and fighting?
You know what? I got 3 kids, so I love being active with my kids and showing them an active lifestyle. So they're very much immersed in my life, and I actually homeschool 2 of them, which is crazy. I just started that this past year. So I'm homeschooling my 2 kids, and I this is my medical clinic. I own a medical clinic, and I'm the primary doctor at this medical clinic. So it's just I'm a very structured person. So, every day is very similar, but I love fitness. I love fitness. So whether it's, running around the park when I bring my kids to the park, or, going to the gym, or, outdoors with my dogs, or hiking, like, I love fitness. I love the fitness lifestyle. And so when, I'm preparing for a fight, it just makes me that much more intense. And I love it. I love this journey. I love everything about it. And, I love my job, and I'm blessed. I'm very grateful with life, and I just want to have a positive impact on other people, who I might be able to help.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely glad you're able to have a healthy lifestyle outside the ring as well too. That definitely sounds like a lot of fun. And now getting back into bare knuckle, I mean, obviously, you competed in all sorts of different organizations with MMA, Muay Thai, and now bare knuckle. How does the bare knuckle boxing kind of compare to any other organization you fought in, and how do you kind of like competing there?
Yeah, you know what? I love bare knuckle. There's nothing really like it. It's brutal. So I think a lot of people are surprised that I would want to do it, and I certainly don't want to hurt anyone. But I love the challenge. It's like a human chess game, and I was actually a chess player growing up, a competitive chess player. But it's like a human chess game, and it's just, to me, there's no greater mental or physical challenge, and that's why I love it. It is a lot more brutal than MMA. You can't make any mistakes. Otherwise you get cut, you get hit. It's not fun to get hit. Right. So it keeps you on your toes. And, yeah, I mean, I feel like when I was in MMA and, kickboxing, Muay Thai, there were other, people can hide. They can kind of hide. In MMA, they can kind of bring you down. All my opponents were kind of always bringing me down. I was always the stand-up girl. They knew that I always wanted to stand. And same with like Muay Thai and kickboxing, there's kicking and other things that you can do. And I've always just been a puncher. I love any type of stand up, but punching is my strength. That's just always been my strength. And so, I love bare knuckle, and it's a lot more brutal than any other martial arts that I've done.
Yeah, no, I definitely would agree for sure. I'm definitely glad you're able to compete in bare knuckle. And now, like we were talking about earlier, your first fight, I mean, going in there with no training, and now you're competing in bare knuckle. I mean, what were the nerves kind of like competing with your first fight, and then also like bare knuckle? Were they the same? Were they similar? I mean, talk to us a bit more about that.
Yeah, you know what? I'm a bit unique because I was thrown in there, my very first fight without any training. I really didn't have any nerves. I honestly didn't even know it was on TV until I was walking out, and so I didn't realize how big it was, how many people were watching. I just remember kind of the curtain pulling back, and I'm walking out, and the camera's in my face. And at that moment, it was just kind of like whatever. Like I already know what I'm doing, so it's just not that I knew any skill, but I already knew like what I signed up for, that I was going to fight someone. I didn't realize how big it was or that it was on TV, but this case still stands. I knew that I was going to fight someone. That's always just been the same mindset that I've had. Certainly I've done competitions in my life where I get nervous. I did track and things like that. And I remember being so nervous before track and bikini competitions. I get so nervous, but something about fighting is just, I've never had nerves. I'm very calm. I'm very relaxed. And I just feel like it's my comfort zone. I just know that I'm meant to do it. There's something about fighting, as crazy as it sounds. It's just my comfort zone. And it's always been like that for me.
That's awesome. And that's definitely a pretty interesting perspective as well. And now when it comes to the nerves of maybe for somebody that's looking to get in there for their first fight, or maybe there's someone that is fighting and that they do get nerves. I mean, what is maybe some advice you would maybe give them to maybe like channel their nerves and kind of calm themselves down before going out there and performing?
Yeah, you know what? I think just always, as silly as it sounds, is just believe in yourself. Just rerun in your mind, what you believe in, and why you're here, why you want to do it, why the discipline that you had. That's kind of what I tell my husband. My husband gets the most fight nerves ever. He's just in his head, and really like that kind of person. Like all you can do is just tell them, just believe in yourself, run through all the reasons why you do this. And that's about it. But you know what, since I've never experienced it, it's hard for me to put myself in their shoes. But with all my bikini competitions, I'm the most anxious, the most nervous person. And so that's what I do in bikini competitions. I just tell myself, like, you're here for a reason, like you trained hard, you worked hard, and that's all that you can do. You just gotta embrace the nerves and the feelings when those do come up.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's important to definitely believe in yourself, and that definitely makes a lot of sense. And now you mentioned your husband potentially getting those nerves, but when it comes to him, I mean, would you ever want to share the bare knuckle card with him as well? I mean, would you maybe want to share the card with him in March if you're competing then?
Yeah, you know what? He actually just recently signed a contract with them, so I think it's like a 5 fight contract. But he did specify that we could potentially in the future, but not for this one. This is going to be my first title fight. And so we're going to be focused on that. We fought on the same card actually for my pro MMA debut. We fought on the same card, and that was fine. But we were kids then. We didn't have kids. We didn't have anything going on in life. So it was fine. But I got a lot going on in life. There's a lot of things that I have to shift around in order to be at these fights and come in my best shape. And I don't want to be nervous about my husband, at least for this one. But in the future, I would love to. I would love to share the cage with him. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that would be awesome, and that would definitely be pretty cool to see. And Sarah, it's been awesome talking to you. I really appreciate you taking the time. What's maybe your final message out there to the fans watching this video?
You know what? This is one that I consistently say is just you just believe in yourself. You just like as silly as that sounds, like you got to believe in yourself. There's just so many outside voices and people projecting their own fears on you. And if you've got a feeling or a mission or something that you love to do, like just do it. Just don't worry about what anybody else says. And anytime you do start listening to those noises, just regroup and get back to your core of what you believe in and what you want to do.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's a great message, and I'm definitely glad we were able to do the interview, and I'm looking forward to seeing your upcoming fight, hopefully in March, and best of luck with your upcoming journey.
Sweet. Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.